Everything in the universe is for us. Nothing is against us. We must know that everywhere we go, we meet friendship, love, human interest, and helpfulness. Life is ever giving. Life is ever giving of itself. He says that we must receive, utilize, and extend the gift. Success and prosperity are spiritual attributes belonging to all people, but not necessarily used by all people. So, have you found yourself conscious of using or not using spiritual principles to bring you success and prosperity? Because when we become conscious of that, then we could say that we have a long-term happy life. Too many times we found ourselves, and Mara shared this is a good tip for that, where you worry about substance. You worry about having, not having, always. So we always live in relationship to something. How many people here would like to have the best relationship possible? Good. I'm in the right room. Because the perfect relationship exists, and not many of us really experience it. To experience a perfect relationship it's just priceless. You cannot really write that down. So I said we are always in relationship, but we do not always perceive that all those relationships are perfect. Do you ever have an imperfect relationship? But the fact that you remember that is an imperfection in itself. Because you see, because I want to say this, there is nothing wrong with God's creation. There's nothing in the world that needs fixing. But too many times we spend half of our life trying to fix something. And because we try to fix something, we are unfixing what God is fixing. Because every time God pushes you this way, or the divine plan says you have a perfect life, and God's trying to center us back into the perfect life, we say, no, I don't want to be over there, I want to fix this over here. And so we are struggling with our own perfection. We're struggling with our own perfect design, with our own perfect relationships. We struggle with that. We suffer because we are ignorant of our true nature. Put back homes. We struggle and suffer because we are ignorant of our true nature. Our true nature does not need to be fixed. And too often we spend time trying to be better, because we see ourselves as imperfect. You know, a lot of us spend a lot of time thinking about how imperfect our life is, how many failures we've had, how many times we have not achieved what we wanted to, how many things we'd like to do that we haven't done. Can you accept that life is already perfect and doesn't need to be fixed? There is no fixing. God doesn't have to fix what God made. But we've messed up, and we try our best to unmess up. And trying to unmess up, we mess up even more. Oh boy. The mind is the fashioning factor, and according to its range, vision and positiveness will be the circumstances or experience. For example, if one sees only unloveliness, this is written in the Science of Mind. If one sees only unloveliness in others, it is because unloveliness is a strong element in himself.
The light he throws on others is generated in his own soul, and he sees them as he chooses to see them. He holds constantly in his mind a mental equivalent of unloveliness and creates unlovely reactions toward himself. Do you see how we make our lives? Because we try to fix what God made perfectly already. How many times have I said this to myself and I still forget and go down the round street? There's no round street. There's no good or bad. God has already made everything perfect. We created duality. Holmes continues to say, he said he's setting back what he is sending out, getting back what he's sending out. If a man sees himself to be a failure, and that is useless for him to try to be anything else, he carries with him the mental equivalent of failure. So he succeeds in being a failure according to the law. So that's one way a lot of people have experiencing success. They succeed in failing because that's all they see themselves as struggling to succeed. So you succeed in failing. You succeed by not succeeding in your demonstration. See, we are teaching that the past sets no precedent. That's our teaching, basic. The past sets no precedent. But we set our lives up according to how bad things have been. We're really talking about a relationship with life itself, you see. Everything is perfect in relationship. Everything is in perfect relationship. There's nothing happening in our world that needs to be fixed, but something needs to be known from it. See, you have to make that mental shift. I'm not trying to fix it. I'm trying to find out what I need to know from it. See that slight little shift? It's powerful because it takes us away from the worry and sense of failure into the inquiry into becoming more like God, more of success, more of abundance. This is tied directly into the consciousness of abundance. A person who has negative thoughts about their life cannot experience and demonstrate abundance. They will always be struggling to experience abundance. And when we struggle to experience abundance, it's evidence that our thinking is out of alignment with the perfection that God had already made in us and set us free to demonstrate. The people here right now that you're sitting in this room with, you are in perfect relationship with them right now, as you sit there. Maybe you don't have to think that way, because there's some people you don't have a perfect relationship with, but the fact is that you are in perfect relationship with everybody in this room. So start from here. Begin now. When you leave this room, stay in perfect relationship, in conscious, perfect relationship. I'm not talking about you have to continually hold hands with somebody here. No, that's wrong. That just doesn't work. But to stay in conscious relationship, period. And this is simply a sampling. Use this as a laboratory, these 4 walls, as a spiritual laboratory to say to yourself right now, I'm going to shift my consciousness from trying to make a perfect relationship, from experiencing a perfect relationship. Everything is done with a purpose. Nothing is done without a purpose. So if something seems like it's not right, find out what you need to know. rather than, boy, here I go again. Here it goes again. Everything I touch turns to mark. Well, well, well. What a prediction with emotion behind it. The law cannot help but create more mud for you to slide on. The goodness of life is ever evolving. Ever evolving. There's always something to be known, but nothing to be fixed. Can you accept that as a statement for yourself? There's always something to be known, but nothing to be fixed, because God has already made it perfect. God does not create imperfection. And Holmes says the only God that we will know is the God that we become. How much more like God are you willing to become?
Lots.
That's how much God you can know. If you say all that I am from the crown of my head to the soles of my feet, whether I have hair in it or not, that's perfect. Reverend Jean gets a nice little kick out of that one. The whole purpose is the expansion of consciousness and the awakening of the soul. That's what we're doing here. What we're doing here in this life, in this incarnation, is evolving our consciousness that we might awaken to the truth of who we are. We have forgotten. You go through the life 99% in forgetfulness of the truth of who we are. What if we increase that by 50%? Why not go for 90%? How about 100%?
Nice.
There you go. There's always something to be known, but nothing to be fixed. When we become conscious of our true nature, our suffering ceases. When we understand it, we can appreciate it, and we can praise it. Can you imagine giving thanks and praise for everything in your life? You say, ooh, I don't want to remember that. So and so. Well, you see, if we live that way, prosperity becomes automatic. We don't have to try to be prosperous. We are trying too hard to be prosperous, and that in itself is a contradiction of our true nature. In other words, we're flying, so to speak, flying in the face of God, saying, I want to be prosperous. Because we have forgotten that we are already made in the image and likeness of God, and there is no lack in God. We are already made just like God wants us to be, and God doesn't make anything imperfect. God doesn't make anything that needs to be fixed. That's why I'm talking about the perfect relationship, which leads to automatic prosperity. Automatic prosperity. Prosperity becomes automatic. The study of the nature of the laws of thought, the conception that we live in a spiritual universe, that God is in us, around us, and for us, and there's nothing against us. I'm not saying this out of just memory. I'm saying this because this has become a truth. Because that's written in the science of mind, and I really think this man knew what he was doing when he put this together. He really knew what he was talking about. There's a power in the universe greater than we are, and we can do what?
Use it.
The power is love. That's what the power is. Are you ready to love yourself? I love myself the way I am. There's nothing for me to change. I'll always be the perfect me. There's nothing to rearrange. Wow.
That's tough.
If one sees only unloveliness, I'm going to read this again to you. If one sees only unloveliness in others, it is because unloveliness is a strong element in himself. The next time you look at somebody and you want to find fault, stop yourself. Stop yourself and say, no more of that. The light he throws out on others is generated in his own soul, and he sees them as he chooses to see them. He holds constantly in his mind a mental equivalent of unloveliness. Because every time you see something unlovely, you begin to name it, and your mental equivalent becomes clearer and clearer, like crystal. And therefore, your mental equivalence of unloveliness has no choice, according to the law, than to demonstrate itself in your life. That's a principle. This spiritual philosophy is based on principles. Holmes says on page 133, we are bound because we are first free. I'm born free, so I bind myself by my freedom. We are bound because we are first free. The power which binds us is the only power in the universe which can free us. It's true. Practice the principles of science and mind, and you will be able to talk like Karen got up and talk about herself awakening. I was raised in the same spiritual philosophy before. But I'm telling you this, I found science and mind in 1972. I have no regrets. Not even one day have I regretted. Not even one day. When we understand it, appreciate it, praise it, our relationship with life shall become happy, free, prosperous. Be prosperous, happy, and free. Prosperity is the outpicturing of substance in our affairs. Everything in the universe is for us. Everything in the universe is for us. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Everything in the universe is for us. Not against us. For us. What I don't understand, I open my understanding. Tell me what I need to know about this. I don't judge it as wrong. I say, speak to me. Speak to me. There is no right and no wrong. There is perfection, period. God did not make duality. But because we are made like God, we have the choice to screw up. Boys, we do a good job of it. We do a good job of it. Life is ever giving of itself, not stingy and holding back. You ever found yourself wondering where you're going to get your next breath from? You never think about that, right? It's automatic. That's prosperity. Success and prosperity are spiritual attributes belonging to all people, but not all people necessarily use it. Raymond Charles Barker, those of you who haven't read a lot, you'll read him eventually, says this: God is wonderful, I am wonderful, life is wonderful, all is wonderful, because God is the wonder of it all. So my beloved friends, be prosperous, be happy, and be well.